right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of when I'm watching what she's doing, it's very disengagement. So there's no. So what I try to do is just try to watch. Okay, the issue is obviously the barking, but where's that coming from is what I'm trying to figure out. And so you see how she always like checks out. She's never kind of checked out. So just pull her back over here for a second. Okay, here, I'll take her for a second. I got her. Shh, shh, shh. Okay. I know. Shh. So.
She's a very nervous.
Yep. Absolutely, I agree.
I think that's what I want to stop.
Yep.
It's got to be terrible to be her and be so scared.
You got it. Exactly. And that's the stem of the problem is this. Okay, so we don't matter. That's why you're getting all of this reactivity, because she's living a life of constantly fighting a battle of I got it. It's kind of like PTSD, where the dog's constantly trying to just fight a battle that's not even hers, and she's losing her mind and stressed over it. And so we want to, that's the core. And then from that stems the reactivity, the barking, obviously, that we don't like. It's okay. Oh. It's all right. So I want to try to tackle the core, which is get her attention. Tell her that she's working with us.
All right.
Then the reactivity portion will be a lot easier to work with in the future. The reactivity is just a branch off of the problem. Okay? So the naked eye, the problem would be the barking. So what I'd like to do is, I don't think that the slip collar is going to be a safe tool with that much reactivity.
Okay.
I think using it in small distracted areas or minimal stressful environments would be okay. But when you get a dog that's lunging actively, going after another dog, we have a couple different opportunities. We can either, how can we disengage the dog through positive reinforcement to avoid the situation by bringing her into another place mentally? But judging by how intense her reactivity is, that's never going to happen. So we have to actively, immediately, when the dog does it, boom, tackle it right there. Like, this is what I don't want, okay? Like my other trainer, Morgan, said on the phone with our board and train earlier, she said, you can't avoid these situations. If a child's marking your new walls, you can't walk away. That's not going to teach anything.
Yeah.
And so there are certain circumstances where we can lure the dog away and reward the dog for non-reactivity if it's minimal. That's the only time that'll work. If the dog's kind of, come, food, yes, pay. But in this scenario, she's going from 0 to 100 quick. And she's actively going forward. So two things I don't love about that. She doesn't mean how she looks. And if she does get away from you and another dog takes it how it looks, she's going to get into a fight.
That's what I'm curious.
Right. So she's uncontrolled in these situations. So we can't talk about what can we do to discourage the behavior through avoidance, because when you do that type of training, you're not dealing with the problem at hand, which means if I brought another dog out and I tried to lure her away or try to just escape the problem, it's just going to make it worse, because she's so amped up and you're pulling her back and back and back and back, and it's just making her more upset. So what I'd like to do is say, the foundation is going to be this: pay attention to me with nothing going on. And then when another dog comes out, the dog knows clearly what they need to be doing. But right now, she doesn't have any idea.
No, she doesn't. And that's what I'm telling me, to up the food, the type of food, the higher
Right.
reward, and that didn't work at all.
Yeah, you
the
can't.
reward, Yeah.
Yeah, you can't. And there's something to that. Like, there's no problem with using positive reinforcement, but purely positive reinforcement isn't a method. It's a style. It's a type of ideology of like, this is the way that I want to train, which is totally fine. But in these cases, you just can't. You can't put a triangle in a circle. It just doesn't fit.
Yeah.
And so that's what will happen a lot of times is people who have one-dimensional style of using just positive reinforcement, they will see the dog, and no matter what I have, it's not going to help. Not going to help. So, right, like, hey, hey, hey. Good. Boom, right back. Done. Doesn't work. Not going to happen. So, moving on to a more realistic approach that's going to work. We're going to teach the behavior first. Follow me around the room. If you don't pay attention to me, you get disciplined. And not like militant, this is exactly what you have to do. I'm going to say, hey, we're going to go this way. And then we're going to go that way. And then we're going to go this way. And you have to pay attention to me. And that's going to start getting that dog honed in on me and exactly what we need to do. Okay. So I'm going to switch to a micro prong collar, which is going to be a lot safer than this. Okay. It's safer to use than the flat collar or the, it's safer to use than the flat collar or the slip collar, and I'll tell you why. She's, how much does she weigh? Okay, so 65 pounds, she might get a little bit bigger, pulling constantly on her neck and the front of her neck. It's not like she's pulling it from the back end, she's pulling it directly from her neck. That can cause some severe damage down the road to her larynx and trachea and all that fun stuff. So the prong collar sits on the neck, right on the muscles. And so these aren't sharp or anything. I've done, countless videos on wearing these things myself and training with them. They're safer to use because they give the dog direct pressure all the way around the neck. So instead of where like the slip collar or the flat collar, even the martingale collar, it'll only apply pressure, it'll only apply pressure in one spot. And when you get a very heavy dog or a strong dog and they're constantly pulling, like I couldn't put her on her slip collar in those situations because it would hurt her. In it, all 2, 4, 6, 8, how many prongs you have are applying pressure up. Okay. So it's safer to use because it's pressure, 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 instead of just one spot. If you had a dog that was like minor little reactivity, you could get away with something smaller like a slip collar or something, but because it's so intense, she's gonna keep slamming on her own neck. You don't want to do that. Come. Good. Come. Good. You see that? See how she looked at me? First time she's looked at me since I've been working with her. So that's what I want to start creating with her. I want to start creating some sort of structure with the dog. You could bring the dog through, Brittany, where she's not so independent. Good. So you see the amount of engagement I get now. Because now I'm actually communicating to her. I'm not just a statue on rollerblades with a piece of rope, right? I'm actually communicating to her in a way that she understands, where she's like, oh, okay, I gotta. So it's a form of operant conditioning. So that means correcting the behavior we don't want and reinforcing the behavior we do want. Good. Sit. Now you can give the dog a reward. Doing would be considered a balanced dog training approach. It's just like children. Again, 12-year-olds drawing all over the walls with marker. If you avoid that or reward that, it's not going to go away. So the goal in any training that I do or any speech or lecture that I provide is very simple. Within the hour session, my goal isn't to fix the dog. That's impossible. It's not going to happen. But my goal is to progressionally move you into the direction that you need to go on an information basis. So you need to know what the problem is and how to overcome it. And now we know. Like you said before, it's not so much the barking, it's what's the core, which is the reactivity, and it's the anxiousness and the lack of structure and control. Now that we're doing that, we're going to fix the reactivity. The big picture is she's never been punished for acting like a complete psychopath at the end of the leash. and she'll never learn that way. Ever, 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 ever. So we can talk about the 15 different ways to punish a dog during those times, but what's the most effective and efficient way to do it? And that's just when it happens, correct it. And in a manner that the dog actually respects and listens to it, like, okay, I got it. Okay? Sit. Sit. Good girl. Yes. Okay, break. Good. Then you can let her go and sniff the dog. So that's the process, isn't it? It's clear, right? Yes, it's clear. So we teach the dog what we want through leash pressure before there's a dog in the room. Do this, do this, do this. If you don't do this, you get corrected. Period. That's it. And it's something that she understands very clearly. It's not abnormal for her to feel basically the teeth, like what another dog would do as a correction. She's like, okay, what I'm doing is wrong, right? So now I'm going to use an object reward as I'm doing this tune-up to see if I can minimize. I'm not looking for the dog to completely lay down when another dog walks by right now. In the future, yes. But I'm just looking for less reactivity, the duration of the reactivity, the intensity of the reactivity. And throughout the process, it's gone down dramatically anyway. Okay, heel. Good. Heel. Good. Heel. Good. Heel. Good girl. Sit. I'm going to flash the ball really quick. Sit. Yes, good girl. Yes, good girl. Get your ball. Get your ball. Good girl. I'll explain that in a minute. Just the dog's coming through. Good. Good girl. So I'm positively good girl. Good girl. Heel. Yes. Good girl. Heel. Yeah, good girl. Leave it. Good. Heel. Good girl. Good. Heel. Heel. Good girl. Heel. Good. Sit. Yes. Break. Good girl. Good job. Good. Good girl. Yeah. Yeah, good. Yeah. Good. Yeah, good girl. See, now I have her like fully with me, right? So now we're creating a relationship. So this is great. So now I'm building a relationship with the dog that I don't know through tug and play, and this is just rough. Couché. Good girl. Stay. Just slide wide. Stay. Good girl. Good girl. Good. Good girl. Good. So nice and feathered through there, right? You get an intact big Roddy. Yes. Girl. Good girl. Good touch. Good girl. Yes. Good. 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 And so I'm just, because she doesn't have this big issue with dogs. That's not it. It's just the reactivity when we see a dog. What the hell do I do? So two things that are going to happen, which is going to be so remarkable for you. Your relationship with the dog is ultimately going to become way better. And she's not going to lose her mind, so you can do more things. You can go more places.